So you have to get a grand jury indictment before you can put a felony on anybody. That's according to the Fifth Amendment. We're going to pretend that the right to remain silent and all the other rights of the Fifth Amendment are intact, but when it comes to the grand jury indictment, that's not intact. We're going to ignore the first clause of the Fifth Amendment. That's ridiculous. Donald Trump has got the indictment. I'm not sure about Hunter Biden, but I bet you Hunter Biden got a fucking indictment too. Donald Trump got an indictment out of D.C., he got an indictment out of Georgia, he got an indictment out of Florida, and he got an indictment out of New York. What did he do in New York? Well, we already know about this one because 34, instead of saying he's, 44 or 45, he should be known as 34. 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. And the main question is he going to serve jail time? Is he going to serve any jail time for the 34 felonies out of New York? I'll talk about some of the issues, but let's just answer that question. So you have, the falsifying business records in the first degree is a felony, but it's a felony, an E felony, which means it's the lowest felony out there. A Class E felony is the lowest degree. It's nonviolent Class E felony. So it's the lowest felony in New York. Still a felony though. A person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he commits the crime of falsifying business records in the second degree, and when his intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. Well, that's exactly what he fucking did. So falsifying business records in the first degree, you had not only an indictment that said Donald Trump was wrong, but you also had a petite jury. Not only did you have 12 grand jurors say he was a piece of shit, not only did you have 12 petite jurors, but you also had 12 grand jurors. So that's 24 of his countrymen out of Georgia. You want to talk about overthrowing goddamn the people's will? You want to talk about overthrowing elections and stop the steal? This motherfucker's overthrowing elections. This motherfucker's stealing elections. So what did he do in New York? It's the Stormy Daniels thing, right? Using campaign funds to hide the Stormy Daniels thing. So we got a Class E felony. Well, what's the charge for a Class E felony? What can happen to you with a Class E felony? Well, you got two things here. You got this New York state penal law, and then you got the different levels of felonies. And they say two different things. The 1E nonviolent felony says no jail, but you could get probation from 1 1.3 years to 4 years. So we'll just say from 1 to 4 years. So that's a minimum. That's a mandatory minimum of a probation. So at the very least, Donald is going to get 43 years of probation if they run concurrently and not consecutively. If they run concurrently, then I guess he'll just get the 1 year. 1 year of probation. Don't you do that again, Donald. Okay, 1 year probation won't do shit. 43-year probation would make sense. There's 43 counts. He's charged with 43. The jury went ahead and said, yes, 43. He's guilty of 34. It's so goddamn many, it's almost like, wow. So he didn't just cover it up. He kept covering it up. And then he did this and he did that and he covered it up and he used this funds and these funds, which he wasn't supposed to do. And his own countrymen, 24 of his own countrymen out of New York, said he is guilty. He is a guilty, convicted felony of 34 felonies. And yeah, Jesus was a convicted felon too. But this is Jesus. This is Mr. Turn the Other Cheek. This is, treat your neighbor as yourself. Treat your neighbor as yourself. Mr. Golden Rule, Mr. Good Samaritan. You all think that's Jesus? Because there was that story. What was that story in the Bible where Jesus was having sex with a porn star and had a wife and kids at home crying, and he was having sex with the porn star, and then he paid that porn star $130,000? It's fucking ridiculous. It's bullshit. Now this says no jail probation, but this one here, the different levels of felonies, says that Class E felonies are the least serious felonies, but they're still felonies. And they need to be taken seriously, and they can result in a prison sentence of up to 4 years in state prison. Well, that's awesome. 4 years in a state prison. So let's do the math on that. 34 felonies times 4 years in a state prison. That's 16. Well, that's 136 years. He needs to serve, if they're going to give him the maximum, throw the book at him. They know what you right-wing fascist motherfuckers are saying? No, he's got the indictment. He's got the fucking guilty conviction. He needs the book thrown at him. He's a piece of shit. 136 years. He needs to go to jail for 136 years. Give him the maximum amount. Give him the maximum amount, New York. How many people's lives have been thrown away because of some fucking overzealous fucking DA or some bullshit judge or some corrupt fucking cop? Meanwhile, I just saw people like bust into these poor black guy's house in Indiana. You had a guy that just killed his own son because he wouldn't do the dishes, stabbed him to death. And so, when it comes to, those people, they're going to have to serve their time. And how much time? Do they get the book thrown at them? When it comes to the serious shit, they don't get the book thrown at them. People give them mercy. And yet if it's some dumb petty shit, you're going to fuck that poor guy over? For what reason? Why would you fuck that poor guy over? So since he could get up to 4 years in state prison if they did the maximum amount when it comes to that New York case, let's read some of the facts and the details of the case. So you had the indictment was March 30th, 2023. So the indictment happened 1 year ago. And how long was this indictment? Because that Georgia indictment was 96 pages. So you have the New York one, I think, was the shortest one. It was 16 pages. There was two of them. There was 16 pages and then 13 pages. Falsifying business records. And then, I guess, the grand jury. So they wrote the charges and then they wrote the grand jury indictment. And then you can look at the grand jury indictment and they didn't, do this thing and do that thing right. And there's all these stupid ass sort of loopholes, if you want to throw it out on a technicality, because you have to do more stuff with the grand jury, so there's more room for error. But that's our system. Are we not a free country? Are we a free country or not? 60 pages is this document here. 60 pages of Jack Smith. This is the DC one. So the DC one, well, no, this is the Florida one. I don't know. There's 4 indictments here. 60-page indictment, 45-page indictment, 96-page indictment, and 16 pages and 13 pages for the New York indictment. $130,000. That includes, he tried to conceal 3 payments. And one of the payments was to pay to Stormy Daniels. Part of me thinks, he just wants us talking about this shit. What happened to that Epstein federal lawsuit? Apparently, Trump and Epstein, this is what was in the lawsuit, they were raping a 13-year-old. So what happened to that federal case? And then what about Jean Carroll? Was he got to pay $80 million for raping Jean Carroll? $80 million for raping Jean Carroll. That's Jesus? That's just like Jesus, right? Turn the other cheek, the golden rule, good Samaritan. And oh yeah, when you're having sex with the porn star, make sure you pay her $130,000 in hush money so that way she won't say anything to anybody about anything. For the first 234 years of the nation's history, no American president or former president had ever been indicted. The reason why they're going after Donald now is because he was such a fucking piece of shit when he was president. But like the Nixon doctrine says that if you're the president, then it's not illegal. I don't think that's the case. If you're the president with good intentions, then those things shouldn't be illegal. But if you're the president just going around committing crimes and trying to get profits up in Mar-a-Lago and you're fucking over the American people, you're no Jimmy Carter. Hush money. Cohen made $130,000 alleged Cohen. Didn't Michael Cohen go to jail for this shit? Stephanie Clifford. So we keep saying Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels, her original maiden name is Stephanie Clifford. That's just her stage name. You only know Stormy Daniels' stage name? Trump denies the allegation, says that there is no affair. Prosecutors accuse Trump of illegally portraying the reimbursements to Cohen as legal expenses. So he was arraigned April 4th, 2023. The jury selection was April 15th. And then the jury began their deliberations May 29th. The verdict was reached the following day, May 30th. And that's 2024. So that just came down 1 month ago. 1 month ago, the jury found Donald Trump guilty on all 34 counts. So if a fucking fascist will just say a poor man who got fucking arrested, it doesn't matter if the fucking accusation is right. It doesn't matter if the guy actually did the fucking thing or not. It doesn't matter if he was doing freedoms or it doesn't fucking matter. Because you fucking right-wing fascists, you just know that poor fucking bastard, he needs to be thrown in jail and he needs to, shut his mouth. Put him in jail, throw away the key, right? Just put him in jail, throw away the key, and then fuck his fucking life. And yet, when your beloved Donald gets 34 fucking felonies, all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, maybe we got some issues with the criminal justice system. Hold on, let's ask a couple questions here. Now you're asking questions? Now you're being skeptical? Oh, you fucking hypocritical motherfuckers. The only way Donald can actually get better out if he used to, if Donald had a come to God moment, if Donald has a come to God moment where he says, okay, maybe we do need to change the damn system, then I'll pay attention to what he says. I'm not going to hold my breath. He's not going to learn from this fucking mistake. They have no introspection whatsoever. 34 felonies. So that means if we're going to throw the book at this goddamn felon, if we're going to throw the fucking book at this convicted felon, well, we need to give him 136 years because that's the maximum. Just let him rot behind, bars. Let him stay behind bars. And then people will say, what's that thing about how you end up, you live in underneath the jail or something? So that's about the New York indictment. The New York indictment has actually turned into 34 felony counts. It's a state charge, so even if he becomes president, he can't knock it down. But the Supreme Court looks like they're about to say, well, actually, if you're a candidate, then you get to, you're excused with your crimes. And then they're going to say, when you're president, then you get excused with your crimes too. It looks like the Supreme Court is on the verge of saying that. 34 fucking felonies. That's your fucking man? That's your fucking Jesus? That's your goddamn savior? That's your hero? Mr. 34 fucking felonies? You know that poor man's a piece of shit and he fucking deserves to have no freedoms, no citizenship, and no right to vote. But this motherfucker, he gets the most powerful office in the land. Do you guys hear yourself? It's like you don't even care about right or wrong. It's like you got no values whatsoever. It's only about power and money and then just criminality, mafia bullshit. Is that what we're doing? We're just going to have a criminal mafia motherfucking society? Is that what we're doing here, America?